Good morning. Welcome to Decor Roofing Construction for our weekly biblical devotional. So last week, if you joined us, we talked about happiness. Well, after we did our devotional on happiness, later they went around the office and they shot some photos of people working at their desk for advertising, promotional, social media, website, typical stuff businesses do. Well, they brought the pictures back. They said, we can't use these. And I looked at them. Every single person was frowning, looked miserable. And we had just had a devotional on happiness and it was payday. And I was like, wow, we got to retake these. So we had to forcibly go around the office and make people smile to let their light shine, to take a picture. Well, as I went through the week and I started talking to more and more people, both at work and outside of work, it became apparent that we live in a very stressed out society. People just seem to be stressed and worried. And it ranges individually. Everybody's stressors and worries are different. Now, the truth is, every day we face a problem. In fact, you make 35,000 decisions a day. When the alarm goes off, do I hit snooze? What am I going to wear? Am I going to brush my teeth? What time am I leaving my home? When you get to the office, am I going to have coffee or not? Am I going to add creamer? You make 35,000 decisions. That's a lot of mental capacity. And we all face problems. We all have problems. Some are small. Some are bigger. You got a situation at work. How do I fix this problem? And problems can be easily addressed. Some take more energy. A problem, as it becomes more difficult, can lead to a concern. So now you're concerned about something. You have to dive a little deeper, put a little more work and thought into it. But concerns can be problematic because they now lead to worry. And worry can lead to stress. So let's talk a little about stress and worry today. What is your number one stressor? Now, it changes over time depending on what phase your life on, but most people have one thing that stresses them out more than anything else. It dominates at least 80% of their thought process during the day. It could be your health. You got a bad medical report, you got a pending surgery, there's something going on with you physically, and it's got you concerned. Now you're worried, and if it continues too long, you start becoming stressed. It could be your job, something you're facing at work. Maybe you got a project, a new product launch. Maybe you got too much work. Maybe even worse, you got too little work. It could be your children, a situation with one of your children that's gone astray or is kind of off on the wrong thing, and it really is your focus. It could be your finances. You got an unexpected bill. You're trying to make ends meet. It might be what you're going to do this weekend. What restaurant am I going to eat at? What movie am I going to go see? If that's your number one stressor, congratulations, you got a really good life. Worry is the number one cause of stress. When left unchecked, worry builds, and it creates stress on our bodies, which is very detrimental to us. And stress, when not handled quickly, leads to anxiety, which anxiety can become crippling. Now, I want to be clear today, we're not here to talk about a medical condition of anxiety. If you're suffering from chronic anxiety, I encourage you, go seek professional help, go see a counselor, a good Christian counselor, go talk to somebody, see a doctor. We're here today to talk about kind of the everyday stresses and worries that are just part of normal life. But the good news is you don't have to worry, because God has your story covered from beginning to end. Now, the problem with that, sometimes we take the pen away from God and we decide we're going to start writing our own story. And sometimes that creates problems, which become concerns, which worry. And we need to give the pen back to God and let God write our story. God knows what's ahead, and He can handle it. Now, you will go through some storms and some troubles in life, and they will strengthen you and they will build your faith. But with God, He promises you, I'll hold your hand. I'll go with you through the storm. We'll walk through this problem, this stress, and this worry together. So what keeps you up at night? That's an old phrase I heard growing up. People talk, you always hear the old timers sitting around, at the family. What keeps you up at night? I guess that was just a phrase. And 90% of the time, you'd hear people say, work. Work keeps me up at night. Well, work does not keep you up at night. Worry keeps you up at night. When you left the office at 5 o'clock yesterday, that project that you left on your desk was still there this morning. That presentation you had to make is still there this morning. That bid you have to put out, it's still there this morning. The work does not change. Rarely does it even change much day to day, week to week. It's there. But what keeps you up at night is when your mind worries and dwells, and we go down that spiral of what ifs. What ifs. And for most of us, what ifs are negative. We usually say, what if something goes wrong? We rarely say, man, what if this thing takes off? This could be big. And that's kind of human nature. Jesus knew we would have a lot of concerns and problems and a lot of worries that would affect us. He addresses an entire section about worry and stress on the Sermon on the Mount. And one of my favorite verses is Matthew 6:34. And here's what Jesus tells us about worry. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. And what he's really saying here is that whole work keeps you up at night. No, it doesn't. Worry does. Address the problems and concerns of the day. Live in the present. Take care of what you can take care of today, and tomorrow you're going to have enough mercy and enough grace given to you by God to take care of the problems and concerns of tomorrow. But let tomorrow take care of itself. Don't borrow stress and worry from tomorrow and pull it into today. Leave it where it belongs. Take care of today. And Jesus was very clear what He thinks about worry in the Bible. We were not made to worry. That's not our purpose. We were not made to worry. But let's be realistic. Worry can settle in on all of us like a dense fog. Now, we think about fog. If you take a fog bank a mile long and 100 feet thick, it can cripple an entire city block. You can't see the stoplights, traffic's backed up, you may not be able to see headlights coming or taillights in front of you. If you're walking on the sidewalk, you might lose your bearings because you can't see the landmarks and the streets. And that dense fog can totally disrupt your productivity and how you act. And in our lives, let's be honest, worry is nothing more than a fog. It distorts our perception. But that fog bank, a mile long and 100 feet thick, when condensed, will only fill up a glass of water. Because it may seem problematic and it may seem large, but like most of our worries, there's very little substance to it. Only 80% research shows of things we worry about even come true. And out of the 20% that do, the impact is only 15% of what we think it was going to be. We were not made to worry. David Allen said, much of the stress people feel does not come from having too much to do. It comes from not finishing what they've already started. So think about that. It's Friday afternoon. You're sitting at your desk at work. You got this one more report to get out to a client. You could probably knock it out in an hour, send it and be on your way. But you're like, yeah, it's Friday afternoon. Weather's kind of nice. I'm bailing. I'll do it Monday. I'll put it off. And what happens Monday morning when you're driving to work? The boss calls. Redirect. Got an emergency. Load the trucks. We're headed to this town. And you spend a whole day there. The next day, you spend the whole day writing up a report. And Wednesday, the third day, you're consolidating pictures and going back to clean up. And guess what's due on Wednesday? The report you could have done Friday. And you got distracted. Because why? A lot of our worry comes from procrastination. We put it off. Should have got the bid out today. Should have made that inspection today. Had time, just thought I'd do it tomorrow. But see, the problem is we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, and then we spend all of our time putting out fires. Put your trust in God. What you stress and worry about shows where you least trust God and where you want to have total control. Examples might be finances. Man, I really trust God with everything. Finances? No, I'll take care of that. That's my bank account. That's my money. You know, God, you can have everything else, but yeah, let me work on this. Maybe it's a family situation that's impacting your whole family. And as much as you know God's in control, you're going to take total control. You're going to dive in there. You're going to fix it. And you should do everything you can to take care of those situations. But at the end of the day, you got to put it back in God's hands. It could be politics. Let's only get started on politics. You can spend hours watching the news at night and work yourself into a frenzy over something that you can't even control. Take it to God in prayer. What's your number one stressor? Philippians 4:6 says, do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your request to God. I love what Paul writes here. You know, we remember Paul was a highly educated Roman. So a lot of the stuff he writes kind of sounds like a lawyer. He covers a lot of bases and tries to get the loopholes. So you say, well, I'm anxious. I've got a lot of anxiety. So what's the Bible say? Do not be anxious about what? Anything. Pretty strong word, pretty all-encompassing. Don't be anxious about anything. Well, what do I do? Well, let's see. In every situation, what you do is you pray and you petition to God. You go to Him and say, here's the problem in prayer. Here's what I'm thinking. Here's kind of the desired outcome. He may or may not do it that way. Oftentimes He doesn't, but He wants your honesty, and you give thanks. Thanks for listening. Thanks for the problems you solved in the past, and I thank you for the things that are coming. And we present those requests to God. Because if it matters to you, it matters to Him. And worrying is unreasonable for several reasons. Worry exaggerates the problem. It makes the problem bigger than it really is. What's the old saying? It makes a mountain out of a molehill. It doesn't solve anything, worrying. We need to fix our eyes on Jesus and not the problem. But too many times we become fixated on the problem, and the more we stare at the problem, our worries and stress grow, and the image of Jesus and God diminish. Peter, walking on water, was the prime example of that in the Bible. Jesus is sitting there with his hand saying, look at me. Come to me, Peter. And Peter's walking on water. How cool is that? He was actually doing it. But then the Bible tells us he looked at the waves and the storm and the lightning. He looked at something else. When he looked at the problem, he began to sink because he took his eyes off the problem solver. I love this saying, to worry about something you cannot change is useless. To worry about something you can change is stupid. Just go change it. What a great thing. How many times do we worry about things you can't change? The weather. It was 80 degrees yesterday, and now it's supposed to be 40 today. So you can't control the weather, but how many people worry about the weather? You watch the news, oh, it's 80 today, it's going to be 40 in the morning, maybe I should plan on wearing a coat. You make a plan. Oh, there's severe weather coming in. I can't control it, but I can have my flashlight. I can have my pillow and blanket ready to go into my Frady hole. I can prepare, and therefore the problem is solved. But I don't need to worry about the weather because I can't control that. And yet we worry about things we can't control. But the second part's even better. To worry about something you can change is stupid. Just go fix it. If you can change it and you know the solution, don't worry about it, go fix it. How many times you see a trash can in your kitchen and it's full and you go over there, and what do? Dwayne sets a cup in, he shoves it down there, compacts it as deep as he can. Then the next family member comes along and they got a sack of trash and they put it on top. And now it's kind of teetering. Well, here comes the next person. Well, if I balance this box and this cup just right, and now I got about a 4-foot mound of trash, but no one has done what? Take the trash out. No one has pulled the sack, fixed the problem, put the new liner in, problem solved. And yet we worry that, wow, that trash is getting pretty high, and that trash is kind of starting to smell. If you can change it, don't worry about it. Just go fix it. And then there's rumors, lies, and gossips. How many times do we worry about things that aren't even true? And when you think about that, that might be the silliest thing of all. You hear a rumor. You hear a lie about a family member or someone you love, and you start worrying about it. But you know it's not even true. So what are you worried about something that's not even true for? And gossip. I kind of like rumors. I learned a lot about myself, things I didn't even know about myself through rumors. But yet we want to worry about things that aren't even true. Jesus tells a great story about worry with Mary and Martha in the Bible in Luke chapter 10. And it's in about 4 or 5 verses, 38 through 42. I'm just going to read them from here. So Jesus is going to Mary and Martha's house. That's the sisters of his friend Lazarus in Bethany. Before he's getting ready to go to Jerusalem, his time's coming to an end. Everybody's starting to, Romans, Pharisees are starting to rally against him. So he's going to their house to relax, recharge, and kind of get ready for his final time on earth. As Jesus and his disciples were on their way, he came to a village where a woman named Martha opened her home to him. She had a sister called Mary, who sat at the Lord's feet listening to what he said. But Martha was distracted by all the presentations that had to be made. She came to him and asked, "Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to do the work by myself? Tell her to help me." So Martha is in the kitchen, trying to throw together a charcuterie board, trying to melt some Velveeta to make some cheese sauce, throwing the Nestle cookies into the oven, and Jesus is talking, he's teaching. Jesus is throwing a party in your house. And she's worried about the presentation, not the people and the purpose. And she comes, she's getting frustrated because Mary's in there soaking up the good time and she's working. And what's Jesus' respond? He says, "Martha, Martha," the Lord answered, "you are worried and upset about many things, but few things are needed, or indeed only one. Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken away from her." Now, he's not scolding Martha. And honestly, he's probably telling Mary, yeah, he probably could have helped a little bit. He probably could at least put some ice in a few cups or whatever. But what he's really teaching us, the story's about priorities. So many times we worry about presentation and optics, we forget about the purpose, and we end up worrying and stressing over things that don't even matter. How many times have you thrown a party at your house, a holiday party, a birthday, graduation party, and you're busy. A lot of people are coming, people you haven't seen for a while, good friends. You're out there, maybe you're out there working on the grill. You come running in the house and you see a friend you haven't seen in a long time. Hey, how you doing? Great. I'm grabbing some tongs. I'll catch up with you later, and you're back outside. Or you come in and you see that elderly relative you haven't seen in months. You go, hey man, how you doing? Hey, did you try some of those snacks? Hey, I gotta go. We're getting ready to cut the cake, but I'm gonna circle back to you. And this happens during the whole event. Pretty soon you're in an empty house that's trashed, trying to clean up, and you're thinking, you're talking, you're saying, man, I wish I could have talked to old Bob a little more. It's good for him to come. I ain't seen him in years. Man, I wish I could have talked to old Uncle Joe. I ain't seen him forever. Man, he's getting old. Should have spent more time with him. And what happens? You go to bed later at night, you get a text from somebody that says, hey, great party. Wish I could have talked to you more. Wish I could have spent more time with you. But what were we worried and stressed about? The optics, the presentation, and we forgot about people and the purpose. Proverbs 14:30 says, a peaceful heart leads to a healthy body. Jesus addressed fear and anxiety and worry in a lot of his messages because he knew we would struggle with it. And there's 4 basic principles that Jesus taught us in these lessons. Number 1, worry reveals what you value. So think about that. And that's really good, bad, or indifferent. What you worry about is what you're putting value on. You worried about money? That's where your value is. You're worried about a family? That's where your values are. You're worried about work? That's where your values are. So what you're worrying about is really, that's your first indicator, this is what I value in my life. This is my priority. Number 2, worry reflects your view of God. If you're worried about something, then that tells you your view of God is maybe he's not all in control. Maybe he doesn't control everything. Maybe he doesn't have my best interest at heart, so I better worry. Number 3, worry is related to your trust level in God. Well, I know God cares about me, but I don't trust he's going to answer this situation the way I need it answered. He's going to do it his own way. Isaiah 55:8-9, for my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. Our trust level in God is directly reflected in what we worry about. Where do you trust God? Where do you not trust God? And number 4, worry is redirected by serving others. In all of his lessons about worry and stress and provision, there's always a loop in there where he comes back to serving somebody else. Because when we attend to somebody else's needs and problems and help them from a position of generosity and giving, doesn't it kind of diminish your own problems in life? Kind of makes you feel good. Well, maybe my life's not as bad as I thought. And I think that's an important message that when Jesus taught us about worrying, go help somebody else. See what they're worried about. See what's stressing them out. Maybe you'll appreciate your life a little better. So wrap it up here. When you feel like you're drowning in life, do not worry, because your lifeguard walks on water. You're not drowning in life. You've got the lifeguard right there walking on water with you. Matthew 6:27. Can any one of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life? We all have so much time in life. God knows when our time is. You get like me, you got more years behind you than you do ahead of you. Do you want to spend your life, your final years, you want to say, wow, I spent half my life worrying about that, and I missed out on the people and the relationships and sharing the love of Jesus? How much you want to look back and realize you spent half your life stressed out, worried, and full of anxiety when God's got such a fabulous purpose for us? And I'm going to leave you with one last saying from the late Robin Williams, This is your final advice and phrase for the day. He said, everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. Be kind always. So I challenge you today, go out with a mindset, take care of the problems and concerns of the day. Don't worry about tomorrow. Put it in God's hand and look and be kind to all of those around you. Appreciate your time today. We will see you next Wednesday. Stay warm out there today. Thank you.